Get him in the chance to do something. You gotta save him. No, no, they're not. This is a little different. Yeah. Well, it's that is nothing like it. It's like a top show for a doctor show. There's no bearing on reality. Right, it's entertaining. Right. Just give it a few minutes. Do we have it for him? Okay, we do. Let's get it done. Let's go. We gotta go run jam. This one's like going right after 4:30. Like, let's get it done.
Okie doke. I have 9 o'clock, 9:01, and it looks like we do have a quorum. So I'm going to ask that we call our meeting to order. And if we could, Garrity, we'll ask that you call the roll.
June Elkins Baker.
Here.
Pastor Ray Douglas. Hannah Royce.
Present.
Pastor Derek Scobie. Aaron Engelke.
Here.
Stephen Buck. Leslie Nez Smith.
Here.
Ryan Haney. Chris Steele.
Here. If we could, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. June, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. We are at the portion of our agenda for public comment. I am not aware that we received any notice for public comment. Seeing none, we will go to agenda item number 2, discussion and possible action to approve minutes from our May 11th meeting.
I motion to approve.
There is a motion, so Leslie, if you wouldn't mind, if you could put that motion. Just I'm trying to trying to think. And
I'll withdraw mine. I was
perfect.
trying to follow the rules
Yeah,
here.
I was
Oh,
Push
you,
the
you
button.
guys are doing
I'm
great.
going rogue over here. Sorry about that.
Perfect. How about a second? Do we have a second?
I hit the button on the second, so I got you on that.
We'll get this figured out
eventually.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
June Elkins Baker.
Here.
Hannah Royce.
Yes.
Leslie Nez Smith.
Yes.
Aaron Engelke.
Yes.
Chris Steele.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Perfect. Good morning, Mr. Ryan. Great to see you. We are on agenda item number 3. Motion to receive, accept, and discuss a report by Chief Executive Officer Greg Williams and/or his designee. Mr. Williams, you're recognized.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Got a presentation. We'll talk a little bit about a detainee death that we had on May 13th. I'll give you a little bit of a report on the health department inspection that took place a month or so ago, and talk about some staffing levels and just give you some general oversight or some general information about kind of what's going on. This mic is going to wear me out. There we go. Is it up?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We did have a detainee death, May 13th, Eddie Garcia. And again, preliminary indications indicate that could have been an overdose. But again, we've submitted all that information to the medical examiner, and he took possession of the body. So we'll get a report and get an official cause of death on Mr. Garcia. I have met with the family a couple of different times and talked to them, so they may have a little bit more information than what I want to give out today. But again, that's a tragedy, and I hate to report that, but that did happen. COVID cases are down, and this report was put together last Friday for Monday's report. It shows we had 1 employee tested positive. That has now gone to 2. So I do have two employees that tested positive as of yesterday. So COVID is back, at least amongst the employees. I don't know if it was the weekend or the festivities that took place or what happened. The softball tournament, I guess I could blame Texas for bringing it, but I won't go there. We have a standard testing protocol 3 to 5 days after detainees arrive at the jail. We do give them a COVID test. Again, they can waive that or they can refuse that test at their desire. But if they take the test and we test it, if it comes back positive, then we go ahead and classify them, move them into general population or wherever they may need to go. If it's positive, of course, we maintain a quarantine for them for an additional 10 days. So all the detainees that arrive are quarantined initially, tested, and then continued quarantine or released into general population after the results of that test, which is in accordance with CDC recommendations. Booking and releasing. Last month, we released 1,907 people. We booked in 1,941. Our population on Monday was 1,622. It's down a little bit this morning. It was 1,578. But again, that count varies within 200 during the day. So we could be up to 1,800 or as low as 1,500 during the same day. Just a matter of how many people have come in, how many people are released, and that number is very fluid. But this will give you an idea. A year ago on that same date, 5/21, it was 1,624. So our population is very steady, and we monitor that. I work with Chief Gorley and Mayor Craig Freeman, and we monitor that count, and we make adjustments and give them input kind of on what's going on with that count. So it is a community effort, and I want to applaud everybody that helps us with that reduction. When we took over, the count was close to 2,000. So we have done well as a community to get that count down and keep it down. Right now, our employee count's about 305, and again, we interviewed probably 15 or 16 people yesterday. So we'll see how that turns out. We had 14 cadets that graduated on May 14th. We had 17 that started Memorial Day. We had 17 start. So at the end of that, our employee count was 305. Again, I'd like to have about 400. And, that's a question I get asked a lot. How many employees do you need? And the answer to that is, how many services do you want me to provide? And again, the more services you provide, the more staff it takes. But really to give adequate services and really get to the service level that's expected right now, take about 400 people. The health department came in and they gave a follow-up visit. And again, some of the things that we noted in the report was we have a significant number of triple celling. And again, that's when you have 3 people assigned to a cell. In November, it was 15. It was about 250. And then in May of this year, it was 15, and that's 15 total for the month. So at any given time, there was 3 to 4 people maybe, but there were 15 instances where there were triple celled. So again, we're pretty pleased with that number. And again, a lot of those are, look, we have all of our medical beds designated. We have beds for pregnant women. We have beds for diabetics. We have beds for mentally ill, those kind of things. So you really can't move those beds. So a lot of times it's a particular situation that would require us to keep them on that area or on that floor. So again, some of those are almost unavoidable. But again, we work real hard at that, and we take that very serious. We got our fire system repaired, and again, that system is the notification of smoke in the building or fire in the building, and that system has not worked in many years, and we have got that up and running, and it is totally operational. We're very happy with that. That's been a big project that really we started about a year ago, getting all the, there's thousands and thousands of smoke detectors in that building. I can't remember, but several thousand smoke detectors in that building, and alarms and all different kinds of things. So that is a huge system that took a lot of repair and a lot of teamwork from a number of agents or a number of companies to help us get that done. Showers, we have about 250 showers in the building, and in November there were 5 of those that were found to not have hot water. And again, a lot of times it's just a pump or a system to get that hot water to that shower while the inspector's pushing the button. And a lot of times it's a 13-story building. You have to push that button multiple times to get the hot water to the faucet. And so sometimes we don't wait long enough to do that. But there were 5 instances noted in November, and there were none noted this time. So again, we're real happy that we've got hot water in the showers throughout the building. Again, fewer drain problems. And again, people think that that's where you throw your food and your trash in the shower. So we have a very difficult time keeping those showers unclogged. Again, there's about 250 showers in that building, but we got that reduced from 9 in November to 2 in May. So again, that's something that we just continue, and we work on that every day, keeping showers clean and keeping them unclogged. And these are a lot of things that really are just every day. No miss medical rounds, and again, that's something that we focus on, is you do not miss wound care or medical rounds or pill passes, and again, there were no deficiencies found this time. And again, we are to notify the health department anytime we have a serious injury or a suicide, and we've had a hard time getting that defined amongst our staff. When is this, what is actually a serious injury, and what is the death? But we've got all that worked out. We've got a new policy, and we've got that worked out, and hopefully that'll be a situation that we don't have to struggle with anymore. So there's still lots of things in the building that we're working on. Again, it's a long ways from where we want it or where the community wants it, where the health inspector wants it. Really, we are in total sync with the health department. What they want is really what we want, and we welcome their input, and we welcome their reports at any time. So the windows in the cells are very small, and they're easily obscured, and we do struggle with glass and broken glass and obscured glass. The walls are center blocks. They're easily broken, easily penetrated, and we struggle with keeping those holes repaired. Ceiling tiles are easily damaged. It's a drop ceiling. And lights, same thing. The lights are exposed in the cells, and they're easily damaged, and they're easy to tear apart and expose wires and those kind of things. So again, there's natural light in all the cells, but they're little small windows that are a lot covered with the metal screens and those kind of things. So adequate lighting is an issue, especially if you have a damaged light or a blocked light in the natural light. So overcrowding is something that we struggle with. Again, the facility was built with just over 1,200 cells, and today's population is about 1,600. So we do struggle with overcrowding, and at times we do have some triple selling. Contraband is something that you fight continuously, and again, contraband can be anything from a cigarette to a cigarette lighter to a weapon, a gun, or a knife, or something serious. Staff report that about 4 out of every 10 people that come into the jail have some sort of contraband on their person. So contraband is something that we struggle with every day. We search staff, we search contractors, and again, intel is a lot where we get our leads, and how we manage contraband is stay in contact with the people that come in, stay in contact with the people that leave, and the staff. And people really do not want contraband in that jail for the most part. So people are willing to talk to you and tell you where it's coming from or how it's getting in. So we take every opportunity to follow those leads. Some of the things that we're working on is Lexapol, and that's a company that manages information systems. And we've contracted with them to help us with our policies and procedures and post orders. And we continue to work with them. That started about a month ago. So we are on our way with working with them and getting some of our policies updated. And again, you guys were on my presentation. Again, I favor working with you guys and giving you information and you giving me feedback. And again, developing partnerships with people in the community is just really important. And so we are looking forward and already benefiting from some of the things that are going on with the Community Advisory Board. Chelsea Anderson is a sergeant that works at the jail. She went through CLEAT. She is our first employee that we've put through CLEAT. When the sheriff transitioned the jail to us, there were about 25 to 30 CLEAT. That's like police trained staff that have gone through the police academy is basically what that is. We had about 30. We have about 30 of those. And but Chelsea is the first staff person that the trust has actually put through that school. We have 2 more scheduled they do 2 classes a year, and we've got 2 more staff that are scheduled to enroll and complete that course. And again, I wanted to recognize Dustin Morgan and Officer Whittleton. Again, a couple of our employees that are outstanding and are doing a wonderful job, and they were nominated and selected as our employees of the month. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Are there questions from CAB members for Mr. Williams regarding his report?
I do have a quick question. Last month you talked about a job fair that you all were attending and looking forward to in hopes of being able to, grow the employee base. How did that go?
Yeah, the Daily Oklahoman put that on at the fairgrounds, and we did attend that. We had an excellent booth just to the left of the entrance, so we were very excited when we got the booth selection. It was very poorly attended. There was a couple of buses of an elderly bunch that came through, and then there was a bus of disadvantaged kind of people that were looking for different things, but really that it was very poorly attended. We were a little disappointed.
Yeah.
A couple of the things that we got as a result of signing up for that is that the Daily Oklahoman does run an ad for an entire month in the paper.
Great.
And we did get some, oh my word, I just almost said it. There's a hiring firm that's very well known, and we got a subscription, a month worth of advertising. No. I'll think of it as soon as I'm not trying to think of it. But it's one that you hear on the radio and advertised all the time. It's a big organization. And we got 9 applicants from that since then that got that as a result of that. So we didn't get people at the booth, but as a result of the Oklahoman running articles for us and the other, oh my word, I can't think of it.
A recruiting firm.
Indeed.
Oh, Indeed.
That's what I was
Okay.
gonna piggyback and ask if Indeed or LinkedIn
Right.
or if we had it on
Indeed is who
any
it
of
is.
those other
So we did get
Glassdoor and all
We
that.
did get 9, or we have had 9 so far applicants from that. So it has paid off, and it is good. And I think anytime you get out and have some public exposure, and we did get an opportunity to talk to people. We did get 2 people that worked at the jail years ago that wanted to come back. They're back in town and wanted to come back to work. So we did get 2 new rehires from that job fair. So it's productive. If we can get good people, then we appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that update. Obviously, one of our subcommittees is focused on, employee retention and recruitment. And so I think it's good for all of us to be aware of kind of the efforts that are being had to enhance your team.
I have a question. The gentleman who passed on May 13th, can you tell me how long he had been in the jail?
I didn't bring that file, but like 9 days. I mean, it wasn't very long.
So if the cause of death was an overdose, that would have been from contraband?
Contraband, absolutely. Any illegal narcotics in the jail are considered contraband. Absolutely.
Are we body scanning everyone that comes through? Do we think if he was there May 13th that we even had the body scanner going at that time, I guess?
I'm not sure we did
Okay.
at the time. And still, we're working out glitches with that, so we're probably not 100%. But yeah, we're body scanning the bulk of people that come in.
Do we body scan our employees and contractors as
we
well?
don't.
No. Okay.
It's an intake, And our employees come through 3 different entrances, so it's really hard to grab employees and shuttle them down to one particular spot to do that. But we have body scanned employees on a random, or anytime we suspect or we get intel or anything, that we do scan employees, absolutely. So they're not prevented from being scanned, but it's not like every day, everybody that comes in and out gets scanned.
I just had one more question about, I know you're working with Chief Gorley. Is cite and release still a thing? I know that was going on during COVID, to try to, mitigate folks coming into the being booked in. But so for like nonviolent offenses like trespassing, things like that, are they doing cite and release or
Absolutely.
no? Okay.
Yep. And those that come to the jail are immediately OR'd out. So there's a list of crimes or municipal crimes even
Okay.
that come in. So if the police do bring them, then they cite and release in the field, but after they get to the detention center, we immediately OR a lot of crimes and a lot of those people out.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, about 1,100 a month.
Okay.
I have a suggestion on something, and maybe it's a question also. It might be more appropriate when we discuss the retention committee. But is the jail by any chance listed as a preferred employer with the military for people who retire or leave the military? I'm familiar in Texas, that's something that they have done.
I'm not sure if that's the case or not. We have worked with Tinker, and we've worked with Altus, and we've worked with some of the bases. But really, we have not really probably capitalized on that as much as what we could have.
Yeah, they list it with the people who are leaving the military, and it can be very effective. You can get a lot of very qualified people that way who are actually interested in that field of work. So,
We have contacts at those bases that we work with, but I'm not sure if it's listed or not.
It's a great suggestion. Seeing no additional questions.
I actually just, I know
sorry,
the turnkey,
Hannah?
you're fine. The turnkey contract we just renewed, in that it says medical records requirements, that turnkey is kind of the one we could hold responsible for that. So I know you said the new state health department report noted that medical logs were much better than previous reports. But I just wondered that in the future, if we can hold turnkey more responsible for making those logs. It says a health record consistent with state regulations and community standards of practice shall be maintained for each inmate. So I just wanted to make sure that we're holding the people we sign contracts with fully responsible for doing what their contracts say they'll do for us as well.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Gotcha. Seeing no additional questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to accept the report by Mr. Williams.
I so move.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
a second.
There is a motion and a second. We will call the roll.
June Elkins Baker,
Yes.
Hannah Royce,
Yes.
Aaron Ingelke,
Yes.
Leslie Nesmith,
Yes.
Ryan Haney,
Yes.
Chris Steele.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Agenda item number 4 is discussion and possible action regarding progress in the Oklahoma County Detention Center's implementation of the recommendation of the former Jail Trust Action Committee. I want to take a moment and kind of explain what's going on here. We are not the first Citizens Advisory Board to be established since the inception of the Jail Trust, and there has been incredible work, substantive work, meaningful work that has been conducted in previous years by both the Action Committee within the Jail Trust and some other advisory council, advisory board groups, and we do not want to ignore or duplicate the efforts that they have already produced. And so as we move into working through our subcommittee groups, we want to keep these recommendations in front of us, just so that we know we have this foundation to build on and that we're honoring the work that has taken place before. And it's also given us an opportunity to receive an update on the progress of the implementation, because a lot of progress is being made. And so I've asked Mr. Williams if he would to share. Actually, I think it was Hannah who asked for an update maybe at our last meeting. Mr. Williams shared that. I have since shared that individually with each of you, the report that Mr. Williams shared with me, but I thought in an open meeting it would be appropriate to have a discussion and a verbal update about the progress of the implementation of the recommendations of the action committee from our previous action committee. And so at this time, I would ask Mr. Williams if you would be so inclined to give us an idea of where we're at in relation to the progress that's being made.
You want to go through each one of the items?
If you wouldn't mind, just very quickly, I think
It's
that,
pretty lengthy, though. I mean,
or we can ask if there's any questions. To be fair, everybody has received everybody on the board has received the report. I would ask our committees. I want to be fair to everyone that's here. I just my main goal is twofold: to keep these recommendations in front of this Citizens Advisory Board, so that we can see and build on the progress that's already been made, but also provide an awareness of where we're at in actually following through on these recommended items.
okay.
I think it'd be helpful to know, Mr. Williams, which areas maybe still need attention. Look, it appears as though there's been a lot of progress made, but from your vantage point, what are some areas that we in particular as a CAB could focus on?
Yeah. And I think all of them need improvement still. You know, it's one of those things that will never be good enough. We'll never have everything exposed and implemented, and there's always the next level that you can take things to. Of course, some of these are very difficult. Of course, it's a lot of what you guys are looking at. The indirect supervision was a committee that worked very hard, looking at really what you do, and that is just really getting staff in and about the people that are detained and working directly with them. And again, a lot of that is the design of the building makes that very staff intensive. It can be done. It would just take, maybe 600 officers to do that. And again, it just kind of depends on what kind of services and how direct that you want to take that. But again, staffing is the biggest prevention of that. Just because the way the building, there's 28 pods in the building, and it takes 5 people to run one 24/7. So you're talking about hundreds of staff that would actually be dedicated to do that. And since we've taken over, we just have not had the numbers of staff to provide that. Again, out of cell time is related to that. So we have definitely focused on getting people out of their cell and more time out of their cell. We've put big, large TVs in each of the day rooms. We're in the process of there's no electricity in the pod, so it's very difficult to add electrical appliances like TVs and microwaves and those kind of things. But we have done that in several of the pods, and we will continue to focus on that. Those kind of amenities are very helpful. And again, getting the guys and the women out of those cells, multiple times a week for multiple hours at a time is a big part of that. So we have focused and we have made great strides to that. But really, in my mind, we're not close to where we need to be with that. So again, a lot of things have been done, but you can take nearly any of these and improve on them. I'm really not. I really am prepared to go through each one of these.
Let me say this. It is a 28-page report. It's a very lengthy document, and obviously it's included in your agenda. Mr. Williams, I would say to you and your staff, I appreciate you sharing this information with us and also dating the status of when this report has been updated, notifying that. I think the best way to handle this, perhaps today and moving forward, is to make sure that we continually keep this in front of our advisory board members and subcommittee members. And if there are areas that you would like to discuss, if you could be prepared to discuss those areas when we come to this meeting, that may be a better way to go about it rather than having you spend 2 hours going through each recommendation. We can read this. It's just if there's questions or concerns about any of the recommendations or related progress, maybe that's what we should focus on. And I would ask that our citizen advisory board members lead this discussion rather than having you go through each one of these. That may be better. Hannah, you're recognized.
I know in the report it says out of cell time is 2 hours each day, but is that more like 5 days a week?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to note that the direct supervision stuff I know would be so intensive. as far as staff goes, but man, wouldn't it be awesome? I mean, even if this bond vote were to pass in June, we all know that that is 5 to 10 years away. I mean, none of us know what that would look like. So we've got to stay, focused on to what we can do and what we accomplish. So I don't thank you for saying that. I don't want to lose focus of what's been put out there. Those are my thoughts. I don't have any other questions.
If you do have questions, you can call me absolutely, or come by or meet with me and talk about it. So if there's some things that you catch or you don't understand, I encourage you, call me or come by the office, or I can meet you. I mean, whatever I can do to help you understand this or get familiar with this document and really the issues and what's going on, I'm way more than happy to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Members, are there additional questions, comments regarding the progress of the recommendations from the former jail trust action committee?
No, but I just want to thank those folks again that worked really hard to do that, and grateful to pick up where they left off. And I'll motion to accept Mr. Williams' report.
Thank you.
Update.
There is a motion. Is there a second? There is a second. We will call the roll.
June Elkins Baker,
Yes.
Hannah Royce,
Yes.
Leslie Nez Smith,
Yes.
Ryan Haney,
Yes.
Aaron Engelke,
Yes.
Chris Steele.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Agenda item number 5 is discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of subcommittee members who have previously experienced detainment in the Oklahoma County or another detention center other than those who have not completed their felony sentences and probation. I will just remind everybody that at our last meeting we had a discussion about the possibility, and we were asking for legal guidance about the option to include, if a subcommittee so chose, a person with lived experience, a person who may be detained in the facility in this process. And we received a legal opinion from Lynn, and Lynn, I appreciate the follow through and getting back with us and explaining the fact that because the subcommittees are open to the Open Meetings Act, and because members of the subcommittee as well as members of the advisory committee take the same oath as county elected officials, it is prohibited to take that oath if a person has a felony conviction that has not expired as far as serving their time. So that, in essence, is the determination that would preclude an individual who has a current felony conviction or is serving a sentence under a current felony conviction from being a voting member of the subcommittee. However, it does not prevent the opportunity to receive input or potentially ask for input from a person who may be currently detained in those subcommittees. We've talked about, creating panel discussions, creating presentations, and so on and so forth. And so I just wanted to be clear in an open meeting that if you are on a subcommittee and your subcommittee sees the value in including voices of people who are currently detained or who currently may be serving a sentence under a felony conviction, there are methods to allow that voice to be heard and that input to be received, but just not as a voting member of the subcommittee. And I want to make sure and try to make that as clear as I can in Chris Steele terms, which is generally pretty convoluted. But I would say that I think that for me and the subcommittees that I'm on, and I've said this and I will continue to say this, I think that there is extreme value. In fact, in my estimation, those voices are the most important voices in this equation. And I just want to make sure that everybody on the subcommittee is at least aware of those options and also the legality surrounding this issue. I'm not sure I'm looking for direction. I don't think we need action. Okay. So no votes necessary, just a discussion. Agenda item number 6 is discussion and possible action to develop recommendations to the jail trust. We included this in essence, in part, in our conjunction with agenda item number 4, just to ask that as the subcommittees begin to do their work and develop recommendations, that you would take into account the recommendations that have already been developed from the previous action committee. We just wanted to ask that as you begin to do your work, that that you're aware. Doesn't mean that you can't add new ones or that you couldn't make recommendations different than what's on that action committee, but there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And we just ask that as you begin that process, that you use that as your foundation. I don't think there's any discussion or at least no action required on agenda item number 6. Agenda item number 7 is discussion and possible action regarding an update from each of the, and we'll get into this. This is each of the subcommittees just so that we can all be on the same page. So we had 4 subcommittees that met on May, I think it was May the 25th, kind of throughout the day to get organized and to establish their chairs, vice chairs, and their meeting dates. And the first committee that was scheduled to meet was the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee, which is scheduled to meet at 9 a.m. There was a lack of quorum for that particular subcommittee, and it was not able to conduct its business that day, so it is yet to elect a chair and vice chair and officially establish the dates. I will tell you, and I misspoke in our meeting on Monday, these subcommittees, for the most part, are set to meet on the 3rd Wednesday of each month throughout the day. So pending a change in what we believe will be the outcome, this committee is likely to meet at 9 a.m. on the 3rd Wednesday of each month. And we'll hear back once they officially elect a chair and vice chair and officially conduct their business. Agenda item number 8 is discussion and possible action regarding an update from the Community Relationships Subcommittee. And I believe, Hannah, are you the chair? Would you mind giving us an update on that?
Absolutely. So we have 5 members in the community relations, currently all CAB members. Obviously, we haven't elected any new subcommittee members. Those are Leslie Neesmith, Aaron Ngilkey, Chris Steele, June Elkins Baker, and myself. And June is my vice chair on that committee. I think our schedule is set for the 4th Wednesday of every month. So our next meeting being June 22nd, 2022 at 10:45 a.m. At least that's what I wrote down. Is that right?
I will go check and see.
You're fine. You don't have to check. Those were my notes. So I think ours is meeting the 4th Wednesday.
Okay.
Just so that we were rotating for staff leniency, I think.
Okay.
So June 22nd, July 27th, we're going to continue meeting monthly. And as of right now, we discussed reviewing the current PR plans and general PR policies within the detention center. We are also discussing what, families, kids that are all connected to the detention center, what are the barriers and needs and greatest areas of support for them. And we'll review current policies as well as do our best to create a forum for community engagement and that civic participation that is so desperately needed. And I will piggyback off of what Chris said that day, and that our community relationships subcommittee really aims to be validators for the folks in our community, the folks that are feeling like potentially that their voice is unheard. And we hope to be the ones to sit and listen and take that feedback, formalize them into any recommendations we can, and help the detention center do better in those community relations. So that's my update there.
Are there questions, discussions regarding the update for the Community Relationships Subcommittee? I'm looking, do we need to vote to accept this report? So that means we should probably also have voted to accept the report, even though there was no report on the staff retention and recruitment of staff? No. Okay. We don't have to say there was no report. I mean, we don't have to vote to validate there was no report. I got you. Okay. We will call the roll. Oh, I guess we need a motion in a second.
I motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second.
A second.
Discussion? Debate? We'll call the roll.
June Elkins Baker,
Yes.
Hannah Royce,
Yes.
Leslie Nesmith,
Yes.
Ryan Haney,
Yes.
Aaron Engelke,
Yes.
Chris Steele.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9 is discussion and possible action regarding an update from the Improvement to Operations Subcommittee. Ryan, I know that you were on that committee. Do you?
Yeah, and I chair it, so I'm happy
Oh,
to give a
perfect.
report.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I mean, there's not a lot to report. That's I think probably our smallest subcommittee. It's myself, and then vice chair is Pastor Douglas, and then Mr. Buck is also on that. We're looking at national and regional accreditation standards for operations of jails kind of throughout the area to see if there are some areas where we might be able to improve, and also just kind of like where we are. We voted to not include additional subcommittee members at this time, just because, for starters, it's a really small subcommittee as it is. So, yeah, that's really all I have to update on.
That's great. Did you guys also establish your meeting time?
We did, similar to the. I mean, since Mr. Buck's not here, maybe I'll probably end up giving the report for item number 10 as well. But we're not meeting every month, so we I think agreed on a quarterly meeting. So I don't think we meet again until August, if I recall that right.
Gotcha. Thank you. Are there questions about the report on the Improvement to Operations Subcommittee? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the report.
A motion.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
June Elkins Baker,
Yes.
Hannah Royce,
Yes.
Leslie Nesmith,
Yes.
Ryan Haney,
Yes.
Aaron Engelke,
Yes.
Chris Steele.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Agenda item number 10 is discussion and possible action regarding an update from the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee. And Ryan, if you would be willing.
Yeah, this will be maybe a little. This is just based on my notes. Mr. Buck, I think, is going to try to get hands on like a handbook for policy and procedures, both from from like an administrative level, and then also sort of like the more kind of boots on the ground kind of level as well, to the extent that there's a difference. We just don't know right now. But that group also chose to meet quarterly as well. And I can't remember. We did agree, or we did vote to add additional members to that board. I can't remember how many we approved, but
I think
there
we
was a
can
vote
add-
and that passed.
I think we can
August.
add, we can technically add 3 more folks, and we discussed potentially somebody boots on the ground, like you mentioned, and somebody that enforces those policies. And so I think Mr. Buck was also going to grab the detainee handbook for us as well to review. And then, yeah, August 17th is our next meeting, so we'll have some time to review those and circulate any background information on those before August 17th.
Yeah, and one more thing. Mr. Buck was going to talk with Director Williams about, we recognize that to have someone come from the jail, right, they're either going to have to leave work or come in their free time. So he was going to work with the director to figure out how we might want to do that.
That's great. Thank you both for the report. Just to be clear, Stephen Buck is the chair.
That's correct.
Of this committee. Appreciate you guys filling in and giving us that report. That's really good information. Are there questions for the Policy and Procedure Subcommittee? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the report.
I motion.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
There is a second. Will there any discussion? Debate? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
June Elkins Baker,
Yes.
Hannah Royce,
Yes.
Leslie Neese Smith,
Yes.
Ryan Haney,
Yes.
Aaron Ingleke,
Yes.
Chris Steele.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Agenda item number 11 is the announcement that our 5th scheduled special meeting of the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority Citizens Advisory Board in 2022 will be on Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. I would say to the committee, I know this is out of order, but we did receive a request for public comment. I would say to this committee that I feel strongly that our job is to create a forum for the community to be heard, to be able to have input into our work as a Citizens Advisory Board. It's 9:44, and without objection, I would like for us to go back to agenda item number 1 and allow for the public comment request that we have received to be heard.
I agree.
Motion. Do I need to motion to go back to that or just do it? Lynn's like.
A motion, yeah, I
A
think so.
motion to enter into public comment.
There is a motion to enter back into public comment. Is there a second?
Precedence.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, Lynn, thank you so much for this direction and advice. I very clearly hear that we have public comment as the first item of business. I'm recommending that we do this for a number of reasons. Weather could have been a factor in delaying some people, traffic, things of that nature. Not making excuses, but I'm really hoping that this will become the forum where the community itself feels comfortable and able to hear. And this is still a relatively new meeting. I don't think everybody is aware of it. We were able to announce it at the jail trust meeting on Monday, so I think some people in the community are still figuring out our meeting schedule, our meeting times, and things of that nature. I know this is abnormal, and I understand the advice of our legal counsel, but I feel like that it's important enough that we should at least entertain this motion. So we do have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
June Elkins Baker,
Yes.
Hannah Royce,
Yes.
Leslie Neese Smith,
No.
Ryan Haney,
Yes.
Aaron Ingleke, Chris Steele.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, at this time, we will recognize Christopher Johnston for 3 minutes.
Apologize for being late. I was stuck in a car wreck. So, do the best I can to be as brief as possible. Thank you all so much. I first want to commend you for, at the last jail trust meeting, for welcoming members of my organization to potentially work together and everything. We're pretty much detested by those in power. So that was, I think, a really good move. As well as you, Hannah, you were instrumental in that. I really want to just briefly cover, we talk about transparency and, as getting these reports, I do want to make one recommendation, is that there's got to be potential oversight, figure out how on his reports. Because we caught him in a lie at the jail trust meeting when he said that there was no problems with any of the logs, and one of his members has been indicted recently. So that was a lie. And I want to address briefly this this health department report. Now, there's been a series of several health department reports. It didn't just miraculously show up in May. This was a follow-up to one that was done in October. The report, the summary of findings, came out November 9th. And 6 days later, the trust signed an agreement with the city of Oklahoma City saying that they were in compliance with Title 74, Section 192. Now, this report says that if they're in violation of Section 193B, which according to the state statute says you have to be in violation, you have to be in compliance with 192, which is constitutional rights, human rights, cleanliness, hygiene, etc., etc. Human rights, right? Basic stuff. 6 days, how did they come up with fixing that? They didn't. So they committed contractual fraud. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I have a comprehension of the King's English. So this report shows a continuation of most of the problems that happened then, as well as new additions onto it, that they're in non-compliance with this state statute. Folks, this is the type of people we're doing business here with. They're criminals, right? And I know I'm running low on time. You guys have granted me this, so I don't have really everything I could say, but essentially the jail trust was created by CJA as a recommendation, right? The BOCC voted them in under a state statute that was for property, not people. They did that to where they didn't have to vote on it for the people. It would have been State Statute 19, I believe. People would have had to vote on it. It's pretty crummy. So the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce created CJAC, billionaires, created CJAC because somehow they're subject matter experts in criminal justice reform. It was voted for as a recommendation and pushed through. Now there is a history, a well-documented history from every single agency you can think of, National Institute of Correction on down. Did you even know that this gentleman had been in communications with the DOJ? An agent? No. But I just in conclusion, I fear that this body is not going to achieve anything because it is not part of the plan. I am asking that the recommendations that come from this board be, one, that we get the Department of Justice in here immediately to have a complete takeover over our jail so that it can finally be run right.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much
Johnston.
for granting me the time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. Agenda item number 12 is a motion to adjourn.
It's been done. I'll second it.
There is a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
June Elkins Baker,
Yes.
Hannah Royce,
Yes.
Leslie Smith,
Yes.
Ryan Haney,
Yes.
Aaron Ingleke,
Yes.
Chris Steele.
Yes.
We are adjourned.